let's rise and come to your feet. Right? And so I have the honor. But let me just kind of say, I read the ISIS papers maybe when I was 22 years old. That was about 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And that's true. I feel like it was 5 years ago. All right? Yes. We need to be holistic about everything that we do. Right? But no, and I use that as a template to develop my behavior throughout my life. And so some of the principles were something that I was looking for. Just when you do not have particular direction, you need to kind of develop some framework for what you must do. And so, y'all, I'm just going to introduce it. Y'all can clap it up. She's kind of coming back. Here we go, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
We love you, Dr. Welsing.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Sure, just a little bit.
A little bit more volume. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to see so many people. Before I begin, I would like to read a prayer, what I call Black People's Liberation Prayer. And tomorrow we're going to be presented, or I don't know how many people saw the cover of the Newsweek magazine that said something like, "Forget the church, follow Jesus," and it had a white man. So this is my liberating prayer, Black people's prayer. Thou who art blacker than a trillion midnights, whose eyes shine brighter than a billion suns, thou whose hair doth coil tighter than a million springs, radiating all energy throughout the universe. We beseech thee, one and only one, to give us total strength to carry carry out thy will for the universe, to establish justice on planet Earth and live in peace. We are going to talk this evening with a focus on black male-female relationships. And I was deeply, deeply honored when I was signing the books. A couple came and said that I had saved their marriage. Wow. When they heard me say that black men and black women, if they focus on the problem of racism, white supremacy, it will save the marriage. Because that is a force that they have in common, whether we think about it that way or not. Now, I have been talking about racism, white supremacy for 42 years. Now, I never thought that I would be focusing on a topic for that long. And when I first started talking, I thought, well, our problems as black people are going to be solved in a short period of time. But that's not the way things work, apparently. And you learn as you live. Now, we are in the midst of some very interesting times when we are experiencing the Trayvon Martin event. We are a few days away from the 44th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination. And these events tell us that the problem of racism, white supremacy is still with us. Now, many times we try to forget about it and believe that, well, it's gone and we're post-racial. We have a black president and we're post-racial. But we are not post-racial. And anyone who feels moved by what has happened to the Martin family and what happened to Trayvon needs to dedicate him or herself to an in-depth understanding of racism, white supremacy, and that goes for all of the young men who have been killed. And it's our duty and our responsibility to understand why this is happening. You see, it is happening for a reason. And in medicine, we look for causes. In science, we look for, it's not just the event, but what is causing the events to take place. Because when you understand why something is happening and what is causing events to take place, then you are in a position beyond just complaining. Now, I bought me a hoodie. I bought me a little hoodie that was on sale. But that's just like a surface sign. We have to go beyond the hoodies and understand why this particular thing is happening and why all of the things that black people are experiencing are happening to us. And to do that, we have to get into an understanding of this dynamic of racism, white supremacy. I hope I got a chalk thing that works. See, we all have to understand that we're dealing with a system. Can you see this? No. Oh, I'm with this. We're dealing with a total system structure. And so the question is, what is that system all about? Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, the famous black sociologist and historian, in 1903 said, the problem of the 20th century is the question of the color line. Right. Now that was one way of talking about racism, white supremacy. But if we respect ourselves as black people, we have to respect what are our people saying about the problem. So that was 1903, 109 years ago. Then mid-century, the important thinker and writer Neely Fuller Jr., I hope everybody is familiar with his work. And Neely Fuller came along and said, the system racism, white supremacy. Du Bois called it the color line. Neely Fuller said it's racism, white supremacy. And he said it functions in all areas of people activity. And I want everybody to understand this when they leave. He said the system functions where? In economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. See, religion, that's why you got a white image of God.
That's where you got the image.
You see, so that if we're people of color, we're worshiping the people that oppress us. But he said it's a whole system, and Neely Fuller helped me understand it's a system. And so as a psychiatrist, I said, well, why? Why would people set up a system like this on planet Earth? Why? See, like little children, 2 years old, they know how to start saying, why? Why? See, if people tell them to shut up, don't tell them to shut up. You might have to say, I don't know why. I don't know the answer, but the child is looking for cause and effect. They're looking to understand this world that they have been born into. So I said, why would a system of racism, white supremacy, be set up on planet Earth? Here's our planet. And I just thought about, you know, by the time you go to medical school and train in psychiatry, you've been in school a long time. In the course of being in school a long time, one of the things that I learned was that people who have white skin are a tiny minority.
That's right.
Now, they call themselves majority and train us to call ourselves minorities. But that was a big deception.
Yes.
The people of color, the non-white people, are 9/10 majority on the planet.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, another deception was they told us that we were genetically inferior.
Right.
But being trained in their medical schools and knowing about genetics, we are genetically dominant.
That's right.
See, that's why under white supremacy and under the brainwashing, even black people learn how to say, don't marry anybody darker than yourself. Because that dark is powerful. That's melanin pigment. And if you need to think about an example, just focus on President Barack Obama. His mother was white. His father was a black man. There's no way in the world that that would have produced, those two people coming together, could no way produce white, which is a genetic recessive trait. Black is a genetically dominant trait. And the darker you are, the more genetic power you have to produce this pigment. So the next thing we were taught, if you're black with a whole lot, get back. A little bit less if you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, you're mellow. And if you're white, no pigment, you're all right. Now see, black people and people of color all over the world, I can go to London, England and say this and everybody knows. If you're black, you're background, stick around, yellow, mellow, white, right? Because under white domination and under white supremacy, they taught us this by their behavior towards us.
Yes.
And programmed us to behave in that way in relationship to each other. And to begin to worship the fact that the grandmothers were raped. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Now, this is not for any anybody to feel bad. But all of this instruction is based on maintaining this system of racism, white supremacy. And we need to understand that if I had Oprah Winfrey's money, I would get all of the crystal black people. And every year there would be a parade of the blackest people parading their beauty. Not in the hall, in the visual head of racism, white supremacy, because we have little children. I don't know what CNN and Anderson Cooper and the whole program's about race, but they have little white children at age 3 looking at a strip of faces of different colors. And when asked which child is bad, and a 3-year-old white child points immediately to the darkest face. Which one is ugly? The child points immediately. Which one is the one you don't want to be friends with? Points immediately to black. And the great tragedy is that when they ask little black children, little beautiful black children, they're doing the exact same thing. Which one is ugly? Now the black child hesitates, but then points to the darkest color. Which one is dumb? Which one is bad? Which one is ugly? And one little black child said, the color is nasty.
Wow.
Now see, we can't blame the children. Where do the children learn? The children learn when they turn on TV. They learn in the homes. They learn at any book that they look at. They learn the lesson of racism, white supremacy, just like they learn English if that's spoken, or French if that's spoken, or whatever other language. They learn it. These colors lined up and spoken of in this way are essential for white genetic survival. See, in other words, destroy the black. If you look at the people who are incarcerated, they're people at the darker end of the spectrum. Now, this is critical. We can't have mental health unless we understand this. But do you think that anybody in psychiatry, the American Psychiatric Association, do you think they're teaching this? Absolutely no. If anything, they will say it's no such thing as racism. See, the denial of racism is essential to the survival of racism. The denial of racism on the part of people who classify themselves as white, and the denial of racism on the part of people who are non-white all over this planet. The 9/10 global majority of non-white people are all trying to, many are trying to bleach their skin, trying to make themselves white. I have a sister who teaches in a school in Chicago, and she says, a little child, I'm not black, I'm mixed race. See, where did the child learn it? The child is not at fault. Where did the child learn it? We're the only group of people when we have to fill out the census. It takes us about an hour. Which now the white people just quickly white out. We have to labor. Oh, I think I have a German relative. I think I got a Spanish, or I'm not really all black. Brother Henry Louis Gates.
Oh, yeah,
I got to out him because he's busy talking about, I'm mostly European. But how does this affect the black male-female relationship?
Devastation.
It affects the relationship in this way. This whole system of racism, the goal objective is white genetic survival on this planet. White genetic survival. Now, a lot of people say, oh, no, it's all about economics. No, they use these areas of activity to make certain that there's white genetic survival. They make the money and use the money and dispense the money for the purpose of the system. The same is the distribution of education for the maintenance of the system of their survival. All over Europe today, when they talk about Islam and checkmating immigration, they are really talking about the flood of non-white people coming into Europe from Africa and causing what? White genetic annihilation. You see, now mind you, they say they're going to do something about it. And how many people remember the case of the Norwegian man who killed nearly 70 people? And these were children of African and Asian ancestry who were in Norway. And he killed them because they were causing potentially white genetic annihilation. Now, they gave him a pass and said he had psychological problems. But he planned it well. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he carried it out. I say he wasn't mentally ill. He was engaging in white genetic survival by whatever necessary means. See, I say that standing your ground.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's another one.
Standing your ground, that means that, see, don't any black person attempt standing your ground. Now, black people can engage in standing their ground when they are killing other black people. Because that is assisting white genetic survival by the destruction of black men. So that's, you can get a pass with that. But don't start thinking you are afraid of a police officer and you're going to stand your ground. Do you see? Or that Trayvon could have stood his ground because he was afraid. No, those are the laws that are being put in place. It's just like when President Barack Obama became president. They had what they call the Obama effect. Now, the Obama effect was people buying more guns than had ever been bought at one time. Because just the very idea of a black man being in the White House was perceived as a threat. Just like the Republicans said, they didn't say we've got another plan to save the country. They said we have to make this black man fail. Our energy is going to be directed and focused on making him fail because he is a black man. Now let's go back about the relationship. Black females are not a threat to white genetic survival. Now, we have all the genetic material in our ovaries, but women can entice, but they cannot impose sexual intercourse. In other words, imagine you reaching and pulling out your M16 rifle and saying to the man, you are going to have sexual intercourse. Now, gentlemen, what will happen? See, that's just physiology 101. The erection cannot be maintained in the presence of fear. Now, the Creator made it that way so you won't have a conflict. If you get afraid, you've got to exit. So the focus is on the black male. In other words, racism, white supremacy attacks us as a total people for the purpose of white genetic survival. But the intense focus is on males because they can't impose sexual intercourse. Now, all the different colors that we come in, most black families don't have two people that are the same color. Everybody's a different shade, and then that causes warfare in the family. Who's lightest? Who looks the most white? Speaking from my own family situation. Everybody has color shade conflict. And it's not only in this area of the world, it's all over South America, all over Central America, all over India. Everywhere. See, who's dark and who's not dark? Who looks most white? And fight amongst yourself. It's called divide and conquer. But all of those colors are because of the activity of white male oppressors and white slave masters. You see, it wasn't Sally Hemings in love with Thomas Jefferson. See, let's get that straight. See, that would be an absolute insult talking about the slave loves the master when the master won't free the slaves or the slaves' children. That's a fantasy. No, there was non-stop rape and sexual abuse on the plantations. See, I heard a white female talking about the plantation in her family, and she was saying that the slave masters would have relationships with the African women to make more slaves. Well, I guess that's part of it, aside from maybe whatever they might have enjoyed. But let's look at how this plays out. Do you see? Because the system of racism is saying, and this is where I went in the ISIS papers into a discussion of the phrase motherfucker. See, this is a phrase that used to be said over and over again in the system of racism, white supremacy amongst black people. I remember coming out of a clinic in Washington, D.C., and I'm coming down the stairs and some young people were passing. And the young people were, motherfucker, this motherfucker, motherfucker, motherfucker. So I said to myself, my first thought was, why are the children talking like this? My second thought was, any phrase that is used with high frequency must have significance. Yes. Now, because I understood at that point the system of racism, white supremacy, I said, this language is specific to this system. Now, what does it mean? And then my brain computer just went through, well, there are 5 people categories: man, woman, boy, girl, baby. That covers everybody. Who is the man? If I said, here comes a man you are, my dad was alive, you wouldn't expect to see him. Who is the man? Speak up, class. That means the only man on the scene. Any other male has 4 choices. Woman, boy, girl, baby. Some time ago, woman and girl was out. Some time ago. I'll try to use this. Okay, I said woman and girl was out. Black men died, many of them. Don't call me no boy. So the white people said, fine, you got 2 choices. I mean, you got 1 choice left. Baby. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Come on, because we're getting free. Black men call a woman they sleep with mama. How many, you know, ever heard that? Hey, mama, can I ride with you? Calls a place where he sleeps a crib. Are you up with me? Man who calls another man the man calls a woman he sleeps with mama. Calls a place where he sleeps a crib. Calls himself baby. Will call himself a motherfucker.
Wow.
Now don't get upset. See, in other words, we have to cease deceiving ourselves. We are living in a system of oppression. That's why things are falling all apart. That's why they can tell us that 70% of our households are single-parent households. Why? Because the system is making something happen. See, the system is making something happen, but the system says it is a democracy. Well, that's the hypocrisy. The system is racism, white supremacy that is perfected, not democracy with imperfections. See, this is why we are confused and why we greet each other all the time by saying, what's happening? Hey, what's happening? What's happening? Do you know what's happening? Hey, what's happening? 1,000,000 times a day, what's happening? What's happening? Because we are into a deception and we don't understand what's going on. Well, we have to begin to understand exactly and specifically what is happening. Now, the reason that I say don't feel bad, but for us, black people, to stumble across this phrase, because baby compared to man is what? In power terms.
Weak. Helpless. Helpless. Defenseless.
The beginning and the end.
Word is powerless.
Powerless. That's right.
Baby compared to man is powerless. Now, everybody comes from the continent of Africa. Human life began here. Black people were the first people, and I don't mean some higher monkey, were the mothers and fathers of everybody on the planet. Now, when white males have sexual relations with black women, they feel genetically powerless. Are you following me? And because we are their mothers, that's why they like the whole concept of mammy. They like to be fed by Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima. See, that really was why Oprah had a whole lot of love. Because, honey, baby, tell Mammy what's the matter. See, Oprah was saying to Shirley MacLaine one time, you know, Oprah was always talking about she needed to lose weight. And Shirley MacLaine said, just popped out of her mouth, if you lose your weight, you'll lose your show. Because they wanted, subconsciously, a nurturing mother figure. Do you see, they call the white woman who takes care of children a nanny. But they call the black woman a mammy, the mother. Now look at this. I say that we push the albino mutants out. That's what the story of Adam and Eve is really all about. Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, they ate the forbidden fruit and became ashamed of their nakedness. And they were chased out of the Garden of Eden. So those were the albino mutants that black people produced. And the black people, thousands of years ago, did the same thing with the albino mutants that they're doing today. Rejecting them. See how quiet it got? I told some white people in New Hampshire, whole audience of white people, I said, you know, maybe we owe you all an apology. Maybe we were the first abusing parents because we put you all as mutants out. And I thought they were going to start throwing their chairs. They sat just like little quiet mice. You see, and so what did they do? Time passes, we push them up into Africa, into Europe. You know, just look at your map. And right directly across from this big continent are these little tiny countries called Europe. And this is where the white people were pushed. But what did they do? They organized themselves, got in their boats, and came right back here and captured us and said, now, you all are going to take care of the white baby. You're going to put that black baby out in a box, nurse it when you can, but you're going to take care of us. So I'm saying slavery really was white people's reparations. Now see, if they buy that, then they got to buy that they're mutants. And we put them out. See, it's like after you function as a general psychiatrist and child psychiatrist for 40 years, and you see what the feelings are of children who have been abandoned. You see, that's one of the most painful things that can happen to a child. A child told me not long ago, nothing hurts more than that. See, nothing hurts more than that. We got to get that part together too. You see, so we, you know, the person who was abandoned, Steve Jobs. You know Steve Jobs?
Yes.
One of the wealthiest people that the planet ever made. But he was angry because he had been given up for adoption. You see, he had all the money in the world, but people who knew him and were close to him, that he would break out in these angry episodes because he could not get over the fact that he was abandoned. So the white people have been beating us, whipping us, kicking us, raping us, doing everything conceivable to us. You see, but I want them to buy the whole package. because we put them out as mutants, and that's why they have a glorified slave system where the children were shipped away from the parents, and now they got a glorified foster care system. You see, with books full of children. You know, do you want these? You think you want this? Think you want this one? You see, so this is a sick system. But, you know, we can put our shoulders back and say, okay, if we did this to you all, we're sorry. But you have created a horrific, unjust system. And since we are the parents of the planet, we're going to get it straight. See, you know, like if you were fortunate enough to have grandparents who didn't stand for any foolishness. You know, we had a grandmother who just could look across the room and lift an eyebrow. And you would get yourself in place. You know, they used to tell me when I was a trainee in child psychiatry at Children's Hospital, they would say, Dr. Welsing can get all the children well. I mean, these little white children were running around spitting on people and chasing teachers out of the room. And I just, you know, brought my home training. We're not going to have that. And the white people were saying, well, they got to express themselves. I told the little children, you're going to sit in those chairs and put your bottom in the seat and act like you got some sense. And so they would say, well, how do you get them well? Okay, but let's look. I don't know if I can erase. Well, anyway. So if there has to be an attack on black people in general, and black male persons in particular, and that attack says, I'm not going to allow you. Now, there, of course, are exceptions, but we're not going to allow you to be employed so that you can function as husband and father. So you can't just want to function as a husband and father. Like I tell people in my office, a marriage is a financial institution. If the financial base is not there, the marriage is not in place. Now, this is no offense to anybody. I remember asking medical students when I was teaching in the Department of Pediatrics at Howard University College of Medicine. And there were some white students and black students in the class. And so I said, now I'm going to ask you all a question, and I'm going to ask you to answer by race. I said, if the white male is unemployed, what does the wife do? These white male students said, she will leave. I asked the black students, they said, the wife will go to work. Do you see now what? You can take it all off. This is just a question of, wait a minute, we can get jobs. We are expected to have jobs. We are going to have jobs. The system is saying, I'm not going to allow the black male who is my competitor to have the same opportunity. So then they tell us, well, our families collapse, and it has to do something with what we're doing. No, this is racism, white supremacy system planning. What happens when the father is not there? I've had male children say, Dr. Welsing, I think I could do my homework if I just had an official father. Another child said, if I had a father, he could at least taught me what goes on under the hood of a car. Now, this is black male children's depression and sorrow and hunger. It's not that the fathers are bad people. We are in a system structure that we have not been allowed to understand. Now, because the system, see, we keep thinking, well, they just don't understand. If they just change this legislation, you see, or if they just do this, if we all just love each other, what would happen if everybody loved and weren't looking at colors? White people would disappear. See, emancipation, Abraham Lincoln, if he said, okay, you're free, and now everybody is really free. And the black people and the white people all mixed up together, it would just be like President Obama. White would be gone because of the genetic dominance of black. So that they cannot allow, could not allow that to happen. They structured a system for their genetic survival. For their genetic survival. And now that black people and people of color are about to become the majority, then now they have to have stand your ground. See, if you come near me, if you frighten me, I have the right to kill at will.
Yes.
You see, which was the role of the police officer. They called it justifiable homicide. I thought he had a weapon. Well, gentlemen, you do. I'm going to put a picture on the book. I'm going to ask him to be a model. Now that's not a man with glasses. This is a schematic drawing of male genitalia. This is what I thought he had a weapon. So Amadou Diallo could have a phone. Somebody else could have a pencil. But that's not where the mind of a white person is going. See, they don't talk openly about their fear of genetic annihilation. What they will do, they might say, well, who has the biggest penis? See, but even that preoccupation, I say, is less with size, although size may be a factor. But they are talking about the genetic power that is in the testicles. I had a person tell me who had their little 5-year-old child in a white school. And the little 5-year-old boy came home and told his mother that the little white boy in the shower said, "You have a big penis." Now the mother said she was shocked that these little people would be having this kind of discussion. So she picked herself up off of the kitchen floor and said, "Well, what did you say?" And he said, "I said all black boys have big noses." See, but this is the problem. I thought he had a weapon. He has genetically powerful material that can cause white genetic annihilation. So then the white brain computer says, must create weapon, can't do same thing. This is a side view of male genitalia. Turn it around 90 degrees and you have this. And what is that? A gun. And what what do they call it? The great equalizer. Do you all follow me?
Sit.
The great equalizer. You have the genetic material, I don't. But I'll make me a weapon. Can do same thing. See, all of this is subconscious symbol formation in the brain computer. Just like the term motherfucker. You see, but out of this comes ball games. What are these called colloquially? Balls. Every season has a ball game. And what do they say? Keep your eye on. See, now, this is code. See, this is speaking to the subconscious. Keep your eye on the ball. So now, what else do they do with the balls? If you read the ISIS papers, don't tell. This same brain computer will turn out specific balls. So what are the two series of ball games in the system of racism, white supremacy?
Baseball.
No. The two series of ball games, somebody read the book. Big brown and small white. Now see, they're, without being consciously aware, they make the white ball small because the genetic material is recessive. So I want ping pong, golf, baseball. I could put marble, but big brown, football, basketball, bowling ball. Now to me, isn't this fascinating? See, in other words, what is in the subconscious is going to come out. You know, before psychiatry became pharmaceutical psychiatry, psychiatrists were trained to look at the symbols and to translate the symbolism. Anybody who's doing child psychiatry, you look at the children in the symbolic play that they engage in and translate that into understanding what are they worried about. What are they upset about? So ball games, I hope I didn't spoil anybody's Sunday afternoon. But what happens in these big brown balls? You have little white girls dancing on the side in short dresses. In football, you have the ball going where? Some white upright legs at the end of the field. I didn't make up the game. I just know how to look at it. See, the big brown basketball goes into a white net. This is a symbol of the female's vaginal organs. And what does the white female say is her ideal mate? Tall, jar, and handsome. Are you all with me?
Yes.
See, so racism, white supremacy, is playing out in front of us 24/7 times 3 thought, well, everybody ought to just get along. See, they might as well say, we can't, because if we get along, we will not be able to genetically survive. You see, but I say the answer is, instead of black people denying racism, see, why is that crazy Welsing always talking about racism? Doesn't she have anything else to talk about? You see, or she's married to a white man. My husband was from West Africa, and he was see, but it's like, well, can't we discredit what she's saying? We gotta be able to discredit it. Well, anyway, let's look at the game of billiards. How many people play?
Yeah.
Come on, gentlemen.
Same way. Got the white ball there. That's the last ball.
Okay, long stick, white ball, colored balls.
And the black ball.
The white and black ball.
The game is about knocking the white ball, knocking all the colored balls under the table. Is that right?
Right.
And the black ball is what, the last to go in?
Yeah.
And the expression is, you don't want to be caught where? Behind the 8 ball. See, to be behind the 8 ball is the same thing as President Barack Obama being in the White House. And so-called being in a position to tell people what to do. See, now that's a no-no. Because if the black man can tell white people what to do, then that's the fear of white genetic annihilation. And they can't have it. You see, we have to make him fail. And have to make all of the other black men fail if possible. Make the children fail. Kill Emmett Till. Kill Trayvon. Kill all the others. Just give them money for drugs or bring in drugs for them. Bring in the guns so that they kill each other, and so we don't have to bother about that. They're taking care of killing those. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
See, I give them an A+ because they got their game going. But let's look at golf. See, I really want Tiger to come to my office. Tiger calls himself a Cavalasian. I mean, I'm not comfortable just being a black man. And so they've got his mind kind of messed up. First of all those white ladies who were chasing him,
Yes.
apparently he was able to satisfy them. All the white men standing around angry. So he needs white people to like him. Tiger, I'm sorry, you know, tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong. But he wants to be liked. Now he's the most powerful golf player in history. The best, even when he's behind, they say he's the best. So no, we can't have that. We can't have that. What is the game about anyway? What do white men say? White women say their ideal mate is tall, dark, and handsome. What do white men say? White men say they're not men until they've had sexual relations with a black woman. So now look at the game that the most powerful white men play. See, the presidents play golf. So it's long stick like this. trying to get the little white ball in a hole in Black Mother Earth. Now, Tiger got the race thing straight so he could stand up and be, look, I'm black. I'm not Cavalasian unless I put it on my head. I'm a black man. Let me be a proud black man. And let me get this stick working again. Do you all understand? It's a mental thing. But if he wants to be liked, and the white people are standing there in the gallery and all of his mates being angry with him because he performed better than they could perform. So they're angry, but if he needs their approval, and if he needs their love, and they're being angry with him, thinking negatively about him, then he cannot perform. Are you all with me? So what do we do? What do we do? Black male-female relationship. Why should there be a black male-female relationship? We don't ever ask ourselves that. Why should there be a black male-female relationship?
Genetics of power.
See, people have to have a reason for what they do. Now, when we were enslaved, the slave master had a reason for the relationship. A stud and a breeder to make slaves for the plantation. The central focus was sex. The slave master wasn't trying to develop black people to the highest level of their genetic and constitutional potential. Slavery was a phase of racism, white supremacy. So we are supposed to not be enslaved. We're still subject to the system. Now, if black people don't have in their minds that the reason for the black man and black woman coming together is to make a strong race of black people that are going to go forth for 10,000 years into the future. Right. You see, now that's the goal that's quite different than I want to have sex. See, don't get quiet on me. See, sex is wonderful. Sex is wonderful. But so what? See, we are in a war is being waged against us. And when people are fearful of their genetic annihilation, then the logical answer is to produce genocide. Destroy the genes of the people that you are afraid of. Destroy the people. If possible, turn the men into women. Turn the women into men. Bring their procreation to zero. Now, if the people don't understand what's happening, they'll say, fine, okay. There's an African proverb that says, monkey was so busy doing what everybody else was doing that one day, monkey cut his throat. See, in other words, monkey see, monkey do. If we don't have our own destination, if we don't have our own understanding of who we are supposed to be on this planet, I can see the Creator, he, she, whoever, sitting and say, I made you all the first people. You are the chosen people.
That's right.
God chose you, black people, to be the mothers and fathers of everybody on this planet. There's somebody in here who's a minister. There's a passage in the Bible that said the sons of God
She'll marry the daughter of men.
saw the daughters of man, and they were fair. The sons of God, the daughters of man, are the mutations. And they were fair. Do you all understand? Neely Fuller says, under the system of racism, white supremacy, when a black man is poor, he wants a job. When he gets a job, he wants luxuries. And when he gets luxuries, speak up, brothers. He wants a white woman.
That's right.
Now, the system has figured something out here. See, during formal enslavement, it was the white slave master raping the African woman, producing a mulatto, but the mother was black. So the first breast in the baby's mouth was black. Now they figured out, now what if we let enough of these white women loose and say, sick 'em, Caroline. Then those little babies who have a white mother, they look black, but they have a white mother. And that will be their primary identification. And so we can use that group, whether they understand it or not, because there's major ambivalence. Can't go against mom. Are you all with me?
Man, Chicken George.
Now what do we do? Because I hear the Creator saying, I gave you everything to work with. See, it's going to turn out that that melanin pigment that we have been taught to hate has got a whole lot of power. See, when they make these solar collectors, those black panels that can take the energy of the sun and convert it to all kinds of energy. I think that's the way those dudes put up those pyramids. But see, we have been taught to hate black. You see, but the white people have an inkling about how important black is. Because when they want to be really dressed up,
They wear black.
they don't put on white suits. Black, they'll even say black is the most sophisticated color. But we've taught them to not want to be black. But we try to paint ourselves. And if the sun tanning parlor gets harmful, we'll tattoo ourselves. We'll put all that black ink. Now we got some brothers putting black ink on them. They already got the color. But it's monkey see, monkey do. So what are we going to do? See, what are we going to do? Our charge as the first people is to bring justice to this planet. Justice is not something that falls from the heavens.
Right.
Justice is a byproduct of self-respect. Our self-respect has been taken down to zero. That's how come people can say, I'm a bitch and I'm a hoe, and I'm a dog, and a bow wow. Do you see? In other words, see, we don't understand. We think, well, entertainment is over here. That doesn't have anything to do if I call myself a nigger. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. I'm a nigger, you're a bitch. You're a hoe. Girl saying, I'm a bitch, I'm a hoe. I'm a gangster, I'm a thug. Let's give them some more age, because they said we can get them to buy that because we're going to pay their so-called entertainers. We'll pay them millions of dollars. Because they're carrying out psychological warfare against their people. But they don't understand. That's why they keep saying what's happening, because they don't know what's going on. They don't know that the same force makes biological warfare. See, I say HIV is biological warfare until proven otherwise. See, they make biological warfare weapons. They make ethno-specific biological warfare weapons. That means that I can tell you, I want your genetic material and help you find who you are connected to in Africa. Then I take your sample and see what my weapon needs to be made. But they don't know, because I've taught them to love white more than they love themselves. Do you all understand? So this is not about hating white people. It's not about being discourteous or disrespectful to white people. White people are saying, you know, they're the nicest, most polite, but it's something different about them. Something really different. I can't quite figure it out. They must be doing something. See, we need to get a hold of self-respect. Seek ye first the kingdom of self-respect, and you will be in the kingdom of God. I mean, imagine, we are made by the creative force, and then I'm going to say, I don't like being black. That's how I was made, but I don't like it. And then I'm going to call on that force to help me? Don't make sense. Okay, let's stop for the break.
The Our Story Re-Education Tour that I didn't mention at first, which is next week. Professor Griff, Dr. Booker Coleman, Dr. Ray Rainbush, and Mr. Akbar Muhammad will be in town. And of course, Malcolm X Day is coming up. But let me introduce y'all to Sister Abundance Child.
Peace, peace. Baltimore! Baltimore, how y'all doing?
Oh, we good, we good.
All right. Did you enjoy Mama Francis Crest Welsing? Good. I need to hear some more applause.
Yes.
That's what I'm loving. I know she's breaking it down, isn't she?
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, I want to let y'all know before y'all just flood all the vendors who exactly is out there. All right? We got Soul Vegetarian out there. You got some sisters selling some hot tea, some coffee, sodas, things of that nature. We got some people selling arts and crafts, jewelry. We got live food, popcorn. What else? Vegan brownies, vegan chocolate bars. We got Ron Wells with his books, Brother Imhotep with the DVDs, T-shirts, and books. Umoja with the heart or, red beans. And Eula has green tea, and she has wheat spaghetti and some sauce. Mr. B has his books, his shirts, and his DVDs. So y'all do all the right thing, act like a village. Make sure that you support these vendors, all right? Because it takes finance to uplift the nation. And we are one nation. Do y'all know that? One nation. Give it up for yourselves for coming out. All right. Peace. Oh, we got 20 minutes, y'all, so take your time. Make sure you support the vendors, please. All right, so just so you understand, the question and answer will be when y'all come back. So 20 minutes, make sure that you're on time so that we can hear everybody's questions and you can actually hear the answers.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna look over and try to catch the guy in the brown.
This is Letitia Fitz. Anybody in there from the re-education tour? Oh man, she's not in the building. Let's see. We got some flyers. Let me bring up this flyer here.
Keep your eye on him. There you go.
Gotta keep them in the middle.
All right, let me give out some numbers. Let me give out some numbers for this Professor Griff, Dr. Booker T. Coleman, Dr. Ray Wayne Bush, and Minister Akbar Muhammad, with special performances by Precise Science and Mia Miata, who's here. All right, that's $15 and $20 at the door. Registration the day of the event. No tickets can be sold at the door. It's at the Hiram Grand Ballroom, 1207 North Utah. And while I'm at it, next month, Malcolm X Day and Weekend. This is the second annual Malcolm X Day and Weekend. And we do have more books down there as well as we run out of the first box of the books. Featuring May the 19th, An Everlasting Life, which is in Capitol Heights, Maryland. We have a serious Dr. Robin Austin and Dr. Nayana Rasiyan. Any change? Okay, all right, I'll go get it. Sunday the 20th, we'll be here. We're going to confirm the times. We may have to extend it a little bit, but we have a lineup. Professor Jared Ball, they're doing a new book on Manning Marvel, book on Malcolm X. So that's Professor Jared Ball and Professor Todd Burrows. And Dr. Mark Bowden will be in town as well. Of course, God Hop, that's right. Hey, I need one of them God Hop t-shirts. That's you know how we do. All right. Of course, Dr. Mark Bowden, he's the Mid-Atlantic President of ASCAC, and Sa-Rock and Soul Messiah, coming out of, thank you much. This is my mother, getting the knowledge from Dr. Welsing. Give it up for my mother. I don't know where my father is. He brought a ticket. He brought 2 of them, but you know. Here goes. What else is going on? Real estate investment classes in Prince George's County, Virginia, Northern Virginia Falls Church, and in Alexandria, Wednesdays, as well as internet marketing class, video marketing, email video boardrooms, which is my video talk, Thursday nights at the CEO Business Cafe. If you all are not aware of what the CEO Business Cafe is, you certainly should find out. As well as shout out to bmorenews.com, Brother Donnie Glover, who was here a little earlier. Thank you, Brother Donnie Glover. She's going to say a few more words, and then we'll continue on. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me go over let me just briefly mention some behaviors from the work of Neely Fuller, and I've added some things to that. Can the talking stop? Okay. Neely Fuller had some behaviors, a list of behaviors that he said that they would help us counter racism, white supremacy. And I've called them the exercises in black mental health and black self-respect and building a counter-racist community. And the behaviors are very small, and people tend to think that they're not important, but they're critically important, helping us transform the negative attitudes that we don't even know that we have internalized from the system of racism, white supremacy. So the behaviors that he listed that I think are very important are stop name-calling one another.
Yes. Yes.
Stop cursing one another. Stop squabbling with one another.
Yes.
Stop being discourteous and disrespectful to one another. Stop stealing from one another.
Stop killing each other.
Stop robbing one another. Stop fighting one another, and stop killing one another. Now, I've added some to that. And I say stop using and selling drugs to one another.
Yes.
Stop making black children think that as children they can be adequate mothers and fathers. As black people under the warfare and the conditions of racism, white supremacy, black people need to be 30 years old before they have any children.
Wow.
If I could wave a magic wand, nobody would be having sex until they're married, and no marriage until 30 and 35. And they say, oh, what will we do? Go to school. Go to school. Get training. Okay, so stop making black children think that they can be adequate mothers and fathers. Stop throwing down trash where black people live, work, and play. See, if you live around trash, it reinforces the attitude that you are trash. And you know what they do with trash? They incinerate it. Okay, and stop pretending that racism, white supremacy does not exist. Stop allowing black, brown, red, and yellow people. Stop being divided and conquered by the system of racism, white supremacy. So that's what I wanted to share, and also share that we need to shift instead of people talking about I'm in love. Baby, do you love me? I love you. See, we got to transform and move forward. And the question should be, do you want to get together and produce strong children so that we can counter the system of racism, white supremacy? You see, real strong children together, male and female, because male children need a male model. See, mothers can do all they can to help, but they cannot teach a male child how to be a man. See, we'll look up, like some of the teachers have said, male children come to school and they don't know how to urinate as men. They sit on the toilet as women because that's all they see. And they're not to be blamed, they don't know the difference. And as I said, we need to understand, if racism, white supremacy could have its way, it would stomp out black masculinity and have us a genocided people. So I wanted to share that and I don't want anybody leaving thinking, well, what do I do? Another thing for people to think about, it's like, see, don't feel bad if anybody who, this is normal in how we have been programmed. Everybody, I'm in love, I want to have sex. This is what we have focused on, and I say, you can produce sex obsession if you do not meet the dependency needs of children. Children have to have mature parenting. They have to sit on the lap. They have to be helped when they want to be picked up. You can't say, get away from me, you too big. That's 18 months. Children have to be held and comforted. If they don't get it, they will be vulnerable to alcohol, they will be vulnerable to drugs, and they will be vulnerable to sex obsession and vulnerable to sexual abuse. Because children want to be close, they need that closeness. And little children, young people, are not in a position to do that. Don't feel bad. But somebody 17, 16 can't take care of a child for 25 years. You need to be old. See, old. And I say, under the conditions of the war, no more than 2, no closer together than 3 years apart. So everybody has a chance to get their emotional needs met and to be strong so that when they go to school and the teacher says, now boys and girls, we're going to learn how to count, or hopefully they learn to count before they go to school. But for the teacher to say, now this is what we're going to do, the child who hasn't had their emotional needs met, hasn't been given that security, the child will say, I can't do it. And then somebody will attack the child and say they're lazy. No, they just have not had their emotional needs met, because when children are held and given sufficient emotional attention and help, they will eventually say, let me down, let me do it, I can do it. But if they don't get held, they'll always be whining, you see, and looking for that attention and be called a nuisance. So we've got to master the science of black child production, development, for countering racism, because this is a war. Nobody is going to maximally children away to foster care.
Yes.
See, this is painful to children. And they end up being physically abused, sexually abused. Now, there's some superb foster parents. I'm not talking about them. But children have been mistreated when other people are taking care of them. If the parents are not mature, their own biological parents can mistreat them. But we want to perfect taking care of our children so that they can be instruments for the production of justice on this planet. Well, let me stop, and so maybe you all might have some questions that you might like to ask. Thank you for your attention.
Actually, we can start making. All right. If anybody want to ask any questions, we can start the lineup right here. And she has her mic, and you all can ask your questions. And I'm sure that some of the discussion that she has been having will be answered in the question and answer as well. So let me just say that.
Hi, Dr.
Real loud now.
Thanks. I wanted to ask a question about mixed marriages. I noticed that a lot of black women are marrying white women, are marrying white men. How does that affect the community? How does it affect the system? I just want to hear your feedback on that.
Well, you know, they had an article on the front page in the Washington Post newspaper some time ago suggesting that since there were no black men, that black women should seek relationships with white men. Now, I'm not an advocate for that in terms of countering racism, white supremacy. Do you see that if we begin to think deeply about what it is that we are supposed to do under the conditions of racism, and we start exercising the self-respect muscle so that we start respecting one another and understand that the coming together of the black man and black woman should be to oppose this war that is going on against us. So I think that people should start talking about that, and maybe they can go on the internet and start looking for people who are serious about countering racism and white supremacy.
And what is your recommendation for men and women, both like under the ages of what you said? You said you gave a recommendation for 30, at least to get married, but now I know that age is much lower than that. What is your recommendations for those young people that are having children earlier than not?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Speaking to the mic.
I was wondering, what is your recommendation for the young people that's having children under the age of 30?
I would say stop. See, in other words, we have to try to make ourselves strong people. Do you see? I mean, a lot of times, women keep hoping that the next man is going to stay with them. Do you see? And so maybe if I have a child by him, he'll stay. Do you see? And then they end up in a big, long fight, child support fight. Do you see what I'm saying? We're not helping each other. I'm not blaming the man. I'm not blaming the woman. I'm blaming the conditions. That we have to understand the conditions and master the conditions. One of the things that Neely Fuller says that people need to have a list of 200 questions minimum. 200 questions that the man asks the woman asks the man. They're not the same question. Everybody has their 200 or 500 list before there's any sexual activity. See, because when people start out with sexual activity, you have the illusion of closeness and being on the same page. And then after the sex gets a little bit familiar, you say, well, who is this? Who you? I didn't know that about you. You see, but if people ask 200 questions, they're getting to know each other. Who are you? that you like? What are your practices? What do you do? Just all different kinds of questions. You see, if you have the money, get a detective. Do you see, in other words, what? Getting to know the person, because you are engaged in serious business. The serious business of producing a black child. And the child needs as much stability as he and she can get. See, now nobody has to be feeling bad because, hey, we have been put under these hellish conditions for hundreds of years. For hundreds of years, and we have been hoping that they want to integrate us into the goodies. Well, now we're finding out that's not where they're coming from.
Yeah.
They're coming from save themselves. And in saving themselves, they feel we have to be destroyed. So we have to get an army of black people who love and respect black, love and respect themselves, treat themselves, treat one another with respect, so that our children look at us and they see love and they see respect. And they don't go around saying, I don't want to be black. Right. See, they start saying, I'm black and I'm proud. And black is beautiful. Because they see that carrying out in front of them. And that goes for all of us, how we are interrelating with each other and what we are teaching our children and what it is that is our cosmic assignment on this planet. See, God wasn't playing when he made us the parents of everybody. That's right. See, we've just fallen out of line. And I'm sure the Creator is sitting back and saying, I gave you everything you need to work with. Now I'm going to see whether you're going to rise up to what I made you to be. Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Welsing, can you hear me?
Loud, please.
I currently work at a holistic preschool. It's a grassroots progressive new school in Baltimore. And we currently have all female staff. I think we have one male gentleman that comes in for the older children to do African martial arts, but currently we don't have any female teachers for the preschool side. And I was curious, what do you suggest as it relates to disciplining and being assertive? Because I'm in a place in my life where I'm trying to be more feminine, and I see that my masculine side comes out a lot when trying to discipline. So two questions. What are your recommendations in dealing with, we have a lot of male children who are very rambunctious. What are your recommendations as females in interacting with them? And then secondly, is it unhealthy long-term for us to continue to be assertive with them?
I would do everything possible to try to encourage males to come in as volunteers so that the children see most of our behavior is what we imitate and what we see, just like learning language. And so male children need to see male models. Otherwise, the females find themselves, well, didn't I tell you to do this and didn't I tell you to stop doing that? Because they don't have a model. You see, unless the child is deciding to be a female, you see, then the female is a model. But they're not females. And so they need male modeling, and not people who are going to be yelling at them and calling them punks and calling them names, but people who care about themselves. And they want to see this next generation be everything that they are supposed to be under the conditions of war. See, if I was in charge, I would have some kind of program where if the men had to be paid 10 times as much as the women. Don't get offended, ladies. You see, but the male children, this is something that is desperately needed. You see, just think about all of the fathers who have been killed, all the fathers who have been destroyed, all of the fathers who are incarcerated. Do you see, now, to the extent that any people incarcerated come out and have, resurrected, reconstructed their behavior, fine. But male children need male models. interested in getting married. So you are not interested in being a father. So therefore, you're not interested in having sex. See, and the men should say, now that's the kind of woman I want to relate to. You see, somebody who is thinking deeply and respecting themselves. Again, what's the goal objective? We're not just talking about, you know, putting on perfume and what position to satisfy ourselves. We're talking about whether we're going to have a future as a people. Right. So we have to get our act together beyond the individual self-satisfaction and see a nation, a global nation that we are supposed to be building 21st century. Or if we're not going to do that, then we need to be satisfied with genocide.
Right.
Yes. Good evening, Dr. Welsing. My name is Renee Tingala. I just earned my doctorate from Morgan State University. My dissertation topic was about African-centered schools. And one of the things that I have found in my research is that Black people are not honoring and respecting that institution. A lot of those schools have closed, and a lot of those schools are no longer existing. And one of the things that I wanted to add to Newly Fuller's and your list as well is that as parents we need to take on the responsibility of educating our students, our children, by monitoring and making sure that they learn about themselves through the videos and through the media and through the books that we read to them, and take it as our own responsibility to make sure that they have those kind of images every day with everything they see. But one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what is your take, or what do you believe about, because I believe African-centered schools are valuable and needed in our community, but I was wondering, what is your take on that? Because some people have some ideas about African-centered schools and the Black communities being racist or not, you know, promoting or not giving children a well-rounded education. So I just wanted to know your ideas about that.
Well, you see, there are other groups of people that are in the society, and they make special arrangements to teach their children the history of their people. And those children may have Saturday school and Sunday school, do you see, where they are being taught to respect themselves in terms of who they are. And so whatever the method that happens, you see, if you have some school situations where that is the focus, fine. Do you see, but it doesn't just mean that it can be done in that setting. It can be done in the home. Do you see, I think, again, how are the parents relating to each other? How are they talking to each other? What do they emphasize? Because if the child turns on that television, you see, they're seeing white, 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 and then a crazy image of a black person, bucking their eyes and acting silly. You see, and then white, 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 white. Open the school book, white, 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 white. Do you see? So it's our responsibility as Black people to talk together, be serious together, and talk about the things that we want our children to learn so that they will value themselves. They don't have to have hair from Asia. See, let me just say this because it just came to my mind. To show you how confused we as Black people are. Now there's a Black lady, is she in Baltimore, who won, said she had the ticket
She would share.
for $200 million.
That's right.
Okay, now there's a group of Black people contesting.
Yeah.
So the people are going to be, God forbid, but this is what just was educating her own family. Do you see? But just think of how much money is going to go into the hands of some lawyers.
Yeah, the lawyers are a bunch of.
While the people are squabbling with each other about whose ticket. You see, so 200 million can be lost if indeed that group of people have the ticket. Do you see where it wasn't the prioritizing, or it doesn't seem to be the prioritizing and the respecting of themselves and each other, if indeed it is a group. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it would be just like any entertainer or any athlete who has multiple millions, and I can't wait to marry somebody white, and I can't wait till they divorce me. And the money goes back to the source.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good. I have two questions. One, in the face of, white people trying to keep themselves genetically annihilated, what I find that they do in media is that they promote interracial relationships on both sides, black and white women,
Okay.
and vice versa. So I was wondering why they're doing that. Also,
well, let me answer one at a time. You say, why are they promoting interracial?
yes.
See, I think that they are promoting interracial up to a point. See, up to a point. They're not going overboard. Up to a point so that they produce a cadre of people who appear colored, but they will have ambivalence about themselves because they've got a parent. Now this wouldn't be a problem if you were not in a system of white supremacy. Do you see? So I would, as a psychiatrist, I would say any product of an interracial relationship, what color does the product want to be? See, they can be any shade of brown or yellow. But in a society that is dominated by white, that person is thinking, how come I couldn't have been all white?
Yeah.
So and when the white female, for example, says to that child, you're not black. So the man ought to pay attention because she's saying, I don't like black. So I tell the child, you're not black. But the child is going to be walking amongst all different kinds of people who classify themselves as white. And they're not looking at that child as other than black and treating them accordingly. So they're going to be confused and into self-hatred. I don't know, does that answer the question?
Oh, yes. Also, I noticed there's a lack of entrepreneurial drive in the African community. And how is racism able to affect that?
Well, in other words, let's say that, I don't know, do you come from the continent?
No.
Okay, but let's say that if people have been prevented, black people trying to do something, trying to get loans, trying to start businesses, and they keep running into no, keep running into no, keep running into no, then the person gets frustrated. You see, I had a man in my office who had developed a very successful business and then got a contract where he was going to get a sizable amount of money. And then he started being challenged, wait a minute, you should forget about the bid that you made. And then taking this person through all kind of hoops. And a man has to sit crying because he sees his business being destroyed. See, the question is, what do we run into? You see, and if you think you're in a democracy, where things are supposed to be equal. Now, it's another thing if you know you're in a war. See, if black people were trained, you're in a war. You are not going to be treated as an equal. See, when I was going to school in Chicago, segregated schools, south side of Chicago, the black teachers used to tell us, you got to be 10 times as good. So you got to be 10 times as good. Now, they didn't go into my discussion of racism and white supremacy, but they were telling us something about the world that we were going to encounter. You see, but then when we got integrated, black people thought, now we're in. See, that's why black people, in the beginning of the 20th century, when they knew that they were going to be discriminated against, started all kinds of businesses, even had their movie companies, because they knew they had to do it for themselves. You see, but now we're integrated, so they're going to accept us. No, they don't. But no, they don't. And so then we're discouraged, start hating ourselves. That's right. Drinking drugs and everything else. Indeed. Do you see? Well, how come they're not accepting me? And then I start hating myself and other black people. So no, if we start understanding we are in a local, national, global system of racism, white supremacy, and we are going to be blocked at every turn. But just look at the basketball players and the football players, do you see, that are running against all kind of opposition. You tell them what the game is, and in spite of being blocked, they will reach a goal. You see, but when you tell people, oh no, it's equal, I don't know what you black people are talking about. There's all kind of opportunities here. It's not taking advantage of it. You see, so we just have to smile at the white people and say, we finally are catching on to you. Now play your best hand.
Yes, before we get to this question, I just want to recognize someone, Brother Nati, come out, Nataki, everyone's place bookstore. Put it up for everybody. Thank you. If it wasn't for him, a lot of things would not get done in this country and in this world. So let me just give proper respect and praise where it's due. Thank you. All right, young man, what you got?
When I played pool, I used to blackboard to hit all the other balls in the hole.
Sweetheart, you are going to be a leader.
Doctor, everyone here in peace. I want your opinion on minimizing, creating a balance in the original family's household and removing the confusion of who has the power to discipline in the household, when we know that all books of power tells us to spare not the rod on the child, and the powers that be, the so-called powers that be, are saying just the opposite. How can we create a balance in the household with the children and remove the confusion of who has the power to discipline?
Well, again, I would say the problem in the home may be that the people don't understand racism, white supremacy. You see, so they are arguing with each other. Because if you understand system of racism, white supremacy, who has the power in that house? That's a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Who?
Oh, yes.
No, let's not. See, don't pass over that, because if the people start squabbling too much, and somebody hits somebody, and 911 is called, and so somebody's going to come, as Mr. Fuller would say, wiping mud on your carpet,
Yes, ma'am.
and say, what's the matter? What's going on here? You see, so in other words, the recognition as to who has the power, where we're not fooling ourselves. We are the victims of a system. Now our power comes that we can decode the system and treat each other with respect. Do you see, where no one is lording it over the other person because they understand. I mean, it would be just like two soldiers in a foxhole. Now they start fighting each other and bullets are coming at them. Maybe they need to be taken to the rear because they're insane. Do you see? Because they don't understand who is the enemy that can kill both of them.
That's right.
Do you see? So if people, you know, treating each other with respect and sitting down together outside of the awareness of the children and saying, now, how are we going to handle this? And how are we going to handle that?
Okay, I do understand what you're saying, but I'm not speaking in terms of male versus female, the Willie Lynch syndrome. I'm speaking of two conscious adults who are conscious about themselves and their culture. What I'm speaking of, an adversity to that is the powers that be, you know, the white supremacy. Now, how do we create the balance in the children's mind when at home we discipline them with the culture, and in school they're told something different?
Like what, for example?
Like white supremacy.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? In the 911, when you go to discipline a child, we know that the child has not developed a mind enough to reason with. And they're telling us to reason with the child. Time out, go sit in the corner. This is your time. And we know that the child hasn't had a chance to develop in their minds to be reasoned with. They're telling us to use a tool that doesn't work. And what I'm saying is they're being influenced while they're away from home, and when they come home, they got their chests out, knowing that they can pick up their phone and call when we try to discipline them. And what I wanted to know is, what I wanted to ask your advice is how can we create that balance? You know, because we have two powers that's tapping into their heads.
Well, I would say again, it has a lot to do with how are the people in the house talking to each other. Do you see? It's like you can talk to children. Now you're going to be told such and such in school. Do you see? Now it's an adult in school, and I have put you in that school. Do you see? So whoever the person is that is the teacher, the adult, I expect you to do what that adult tells you to do.
Yes, ma'am.
If there is a problem, I will go up and take care of it as the parent and as the adult. Do you see, if you say, well, I teach my child one thing at home, something else is being taught at school, if that's an issue, the parent can go up and say, well, this is what I teach my child. Do you see? But if you put the child in a particular school, you want the child to get as much as possible from that setting. Do you see? You're not sending the child there to have a fight with the teacher. Do you see? If you don't want the child there, try to place the child someplace else.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see? But again, how do you talk to the child? You know, and putting physical force and violence, that's the last resort.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, well, I kind of wanted to touch on what the young lady had asked about as far as teaching boys, and then I had a question. But I work as a resource director for Fairfax County, and so I work with a lot of teachers, and that's something that comes up. I kind of monitor teachers too to make sure they're treating our kids right. But as far as working with boys, there's so many things you can do. If you can't pay, you can bring someone in every week. You got a firefighter that's hosting this program that could come in.
I'm here.
So exactly. I mean, you can network. You can grab someone. I mean, I stop people all the time. Can you come talk to my class? Not only that, you have the opportunity to take them out to field trips so they can see black men working, so they can to counteract what they see on TV. So, you know, I'm not going to go on, because I could go on and on, but if anyone has any questions, you can ask me after the program. But my question was, something that I come in contact with the schools is impulse control. And I just wanted to maybe see what you thought about that, because it's like, we need that. I mean, how can you counteract anything if you don't have that higher level of critical thinking, being able to just be satisfied and having that balance of when you need to react and when you don't need to react, and just kind of sit back and think. It's just like you were talking about the whole debate over that lottery ticket. You know, if she just had that little bit of impulse control and knew how to be satisfied, I mean, if it was me, I would share. I mean, that's a lot of money. If you can't share that and divide it and make that work, then something's wrong.
Oh, wait a minute. See, in other words, let's be fair. I mean, I can see the lady. Do you see 200 million?
See, to me, this is something
So,
wrong.
see, that can blow a whole lot of circuits. Now, it's not to say that she should not slow down. See, it's like I got $100 million. It could all be mine. See, every level of deprivation comes into play. I need it all. See, I mean, that's like white supremacy. Their greed comes from a sense of inadequacy. So I gotta have all the oil, all the gold, all the diamonds, everything. You see, all.
We just had a discussion about that last week with it was a group of 5-year-olds, because they were talking about, you know, why is it like this? And I'm like, it's been history. If you read between the lines of the history books, you can see the migration for the oil, for this, for seasonings, for gold. You know, we had those things in abundance. So during our culture and other cultures, it was just, you know, shared. It wasn't a big fight. Just like you're saying, we got to have it all. So that was my question, you know, about the impulse control, just being able to.
Now you're saying impulse control on the part of adults?
Well, adults and kids, because children, you know, what you see, monkey see, monkey do. If I see my parents just like that woman, you know, I gotta have it all. If it's always that sense of desperation, or you know, you see so many times, oh, we gotta do this right now, we gotta do this right now, we gotta do this. You don't have to do everything right now. Some things are for later, and that's how we get into debt. That's how we have, you know, family problems. You know, you come into a marriage, you know, $100,000 in debt because I had to have a car now, because I had to have a credit card now, and we don't really have a family plan because we're so busy trying to pay this debt. So that was my thing about impulse control, because that's one way to keep the family apart.
Well, you see, but again, look, everybody kind of hug yourself. Hug yourself.
Yes.
Hug yourself. Say, I love myself. I really mean I love myself. I love my black self. And I'm asking the Creator to give me patience as I deal with myself. And the weaknesses that I've learned. Under the system of white supremacy. But I will be patient. And caring. Okay. Now, see, racism, white supremacy is 24/7 times 365 times a lifetime of bombarding us. Boom, boom. And then they say, well, now, we have disparity in levels of blood pressure. Black people have high blood pressure, and they have diabetes, and they have kidney disease. And we don't know why. It must be in their genes. No, it's because black people are being bombarded and bombarded and bombarded and bombarded. You see, and we need to say, I want my colleagues in medicine, but we're nervous about saying it because some of the white drug companies won't be happy with us. But this is the reality. And I also say to black people, if you can, get in a Tai Chi class. You know, where people are moving, see the boom, boom. This is racism bombarding all the kinds of issues, and you're just helping the nervous system, training it to be calm down nervous system, so I can fight white supremacy effectively. Yes, sir.
Doc, I want to first of all thank you, as you may recall, 30 years ago. 30 years ago, my family and I brought you to, in a thunderstorm, to Booker T. Washington Junior High School right up the street, which this was a feeder school of, and folks came out and drove done now. And you did a magnificent job, so I want to thank you for that. But I just want to say a few quick things, if I may. I'm Doc Potter, for folks who may not know. And I went to school, in this school, even though I was born in Virginia and raised on my grandparents' farm in North Carolina. At the age of 5, I was born here, lived right across the street from this school. And one of the things I just wanted to mention is, and my mother spanked me, and she didn't spank her clothes in the 2nd grade. Miss Palmer's class right around the corner, right? Because I took my note that was sent to my mother from my sister, and I didn't do that again in life, you know. But the point I wanted to make is that it seems to me that with the best of health, we tend to, even conscious people, want to think the worst of a person.
The worst of?
The worst of a person, another person. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because I live in Westport. And Westport is a neglected community in Baltimore City. The light rail stops there, 15 minutes away from BWI, you know, 5 minutes away from Camden Yard where the Ravens play, on and on. The point I'm making is that the young woman people are talking about, her name is Toussaint Milan. That was her birth name, Toussaint Milan. She's from Haiti. I just left her, you know, I was with her last night. I'm saying what about her character? I'm saying she came in a boat, right? Those boat people that they turn around in Haiti. And I'm not trying to excuse white racism or nothing because you're the expert on that. I am not. And I'm saying she came in a boat. She talked about how many people were lost at sea, right? She talked about islands that sandbars in the ocean, so that people think it's just ocean. She said, but there's certain places in the ocean where there are peaks of land, and we got out of the boat and we washed in pitch black darkness with sunlight, and we lost a lot of people. And then she said that there was a bird atop our boat. And when we got to Florida, the Coast Guard was there and all that, and for some reason that bird left us and went to shore and came back. Same corporate bird, maybe, I don't know. She said that when that bird came back, our boat was able to slip through customs, right? And we were free. Clinton did not send them back. I'm saying it to say what? I'm saying to say this, and I'll leave that alone. I'm saying this to say that I saw that woman, you know, that mother of 7 children, right? Not perfect. I'm not saying that I'm not perfect. In the midst of all the kinds of media drama knocking at her door, 7 children bouncing around, phone jumping off the hook, folks showing up saying that they're her relatives or whatever, I saw that woman do what African women have always done. I saw her maintain a sense of heart and balance and harmony, and even though I recommended she not talk to the press, with the best of intentions, she attempted to give her side of the story. The first thing she said is, I want to give it all away. That's what she said, whether she meant that or not. The next thing she said is, I will take care of everybody. I don't know why people are lying. Now I'm saying, I got our lawyer, Eddie Smith. Eddie Smith said to her, I will not charge you $1. I just want to put that on the record. Okay, this is my concern. I just want to put that out there. You saved my life many years ago. I don't know if you remember this. It was the 10th anniversary of the assassination of Comrade George Jackson. Dr. Ackland Lynch brought artists from all over the country, Brazil, the world, to UNBC. And with that, you know, I was sitting out in the garden. I was very sad and I was very depressed. And you saw me, you said, Brother Dr. how you doing? I said, I'm fine. She said, what's happening? I said, I'm in transition from a relationship to marriage, where the woman I was married to took my 2-year-old and went back to California. And my heart was broken, my mind was broken, I was depressed, I didn't know what to do. But I was in transition, and Hakeem Manabuti invited me to Chicago, I came back here. But you said to me, you say you're in transition from what? I know you already talked about black men's relationship. I said, so from a relationship, I'm trying to start over again, I'm back in Baltimore. You say, well, what type of sister are you looking for? And And I explained this is how I wanted to go. Red, black, and green, revolutionary commitment, be behind the man, da-da-da. And you said to me, and which saved my life, and I'll stop here. You said, Brother Doc, that sounds like the 9 and the 10 and the 6 and the 7 just might do. The point I'm making is I think conscious people have a tendency to be so correct and so absolute, and I'm including myself in that. So absolute and so correct and so red, black, and green and so knowing all that we don't have a tendency to look at other folks with humility because they don't dress like us, they don't eat the same food that we eat.
Okay, I want you to say to the lady, you know, I'm glad that somebody knows her, and just say to her, don't lose it all. Do you see, don't lose it all with black people fighting and squabbling with each other. There has to be another way, so I'm glad that you know her. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Tajay Richardson, and I'm a dance and flag coordinator for a high school marching band in D.C. And I have, well, 100% of my girls are black, but 80% of them are bisexual lesbian. 80%. 80%. Now, my question to you is, how do I explain to them or let them know that what they're doing is not good for them, their race, or anything, without them rejecting me, rejecting my mentoring, and rejecting the message that I'm trying to give to them? What can I do to get them on track? They're lost.
Well, see, I think that that's just very interesting. I say as a physician, I don't know what's causing the problem. Do you see, I don't know whether it's stuff that is in the food. See, they found chemicals, or they are aware of chemicals that can make male amphibians and male fish become females. Now, in the system, do you see, if the system structure is what I say it is, where it's fearful of the black male, would it occur, well, if we put this in the food, we can change their functioning. See, they've already talked about having chemicals that they can spray on the opposing army and making the opposing army men find each other attractive. So something is happening. I don't know what it is. I would just say, see, and it's epidemic from what I hear people who are in schools. See, junior high schools and female children talking about they're going with each other with determination. Do you see? So I don't know what's causing it. I would just say that without, see, in other words, if you're talking to the children and you say for people to survive, they have to have males and they have to have females. And they have to be able to respect being females and respect being males. Now, if that gets destroyed, the people can be destroyed. You see, so young people, I'm not certain what is causing you to feel this way. Maybe you can explain it to me. When did you decide about this? See, again, it's like, you know, all the discussion about is no fresh food in the areas where black people live. It's just fast food.
Yeah, that's true.
So somebody with wrong thinking can decide, well, we'll take over the franchises and we will fix the batter. See, and so to be able, see, in other words, like I say, as far as I'm concerned, HIV is biological warfare. See, anytime you can start out saying it comes from a green monkey and the Africans ate the green monkey and had sex with the green monkey, you're lying. See, if you're lying, it means that you know the truth. You see, so in other words, what is our fun? In other words, if we got in the position of respecting ourselves,
Yes.
You see, not by all different kinds of people, but by people who classify themselves as white. That's right. So if somebody, well, why would you say that? Well, we have to respect our history. See, nobody challenges Semites of the Jewish religion about respecting their history. Come on. You see, nobody is telling them they're supposed to love Germans. You see, so if we were in the self-respecting posture, we would have to say some strange things are happening to us. You see, and we can't explain it any more than the Semites of the Jewish religion could explain everything that people had set down and planned to put on them. They didn't find out until after it was all over. You see, but we see something happening and we don't like it, and we have to look at your history as we are at this chessboard. That's right. Playing this chess game. You see, we do know that you are nervous about your genetic survival by any means necessary. You see, so we have to wonder, but I would just say calmly talk to the children. Don't shame them. Just say, if we are going to go forward as a people, we have to have people who are respecting being males and people who are respecting being females. That's the only way that we are going to continue ourselves 1,000 generations into the future.
True indeed.
Okay?
True indeed.
Dr. First, thank you. You could be in Oxford or any Ivy League institution you want to be in. Thank you for being available to us, getting us this information. I'm from Mississippi, and I grew up in a house full of boys. I had older sisters. And what I want is your opinion on corporal punishment. I fundamentally think that corporal punishment is violence. I grew up...
Is what?
Violence. I grew up in a house with a very loving mother and father. And I've never heard my father call my mother out of her name. Never disrespected my mom, but he beat the shit out of us. I took my last whipping when I was, I guess, maybe 17. And I told my father, years later, I said, if I had to replay that over again, I wouldn't have taken it.
You would not take it?
I would not have taken it. I'm the smallest of my brothers. And I came to learn that part of it was, that was what was done to him by his father.
Exactly.
Very loving man, but that, you know, and the attitude of want to beat you so the police don't have to. So, I don't know how many times I've been around to where it's almost like a mythology that black folks, including me, I've done it, have contests on who got beat the most growing up. Well, my daddy used to do this, my daddy used to do this, and it's almost like a game, and we really don't look at this thing of, we call it corporal punishment, and we use the Bible to justify this on our kids. But there's some abuse in there, and there's some violence in there. And I said I would never do that. Then when I had children at 21, I whipped my kids.
So you were overwhelmed and frustrated.
I didn't have money. I didn't have, if I got paid on a Friday, and they jumped up and down on the couch, I said, get off that couch. If it was in between paydays when I didn't have food, they would get a whipping. So I was inconsistent with my correction based off of things outside.
What was happening to you?
Yeah, so this thing, and my kids walked in there, my youngest is 26, my daughter's 28, they would say yes ma'am and no ma'am. They didn't swing from chandeliers. But it's something about respecting our children as being little humans, and they can't think, and not beating them all the time or thinking we have to whip them or inflict pain on them. But I think it's overused in the black community. And then to bring it up, what I hear a lot is, you've been listening to white folks. I'm talking from my personal experience.
See, it's like what we have to reflect on is that we were enslaved for hundreds of years, and we were being beaten. You see, and so that beating is silently being carried on. Now, we have oppressive conditions continuing, so we have a lot of frustration. You see, that frustration feeds into black self-hate, It feeds into, a lot of times, men calling little children, you punk. Do you see all of that? Just like we have epidemic levels of sexual abuse that we've got to be able to look at. And I say that goes all the way back to those hundreds of years of black people being sexually abused in the formal enslavement process. You see, and we're talking about these things and reflecting on these things and respecting ourselves as we talk about it so that we can do differently. You see, it may be hard, but we can do differently. So thank you.
Peace and blessings, Mama. May I have permission to speak?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Sister Victory Swift. Peace and blessings, family.
Peace,
I
sister.
want to address the issue that Baba Nally Fuller Jr. stated, that because we are a diseased people under the oppression of white supremacy, that when we address each other, we should either address each other with something positive, or we should say absolutely nothing at all to each other. And that is on every level. Will you touch on that, please?
Well, maybe you can explain a little bit more about what you're saying.
He was saying because of how we deal with each other and how we treat each other, the way we talk to each other, not just male and female, but how we deal with our children, and being under the oppression, as the brother explained his levels of depression and how he deals with his children, and that aspect. And as Brother Daki said, that even us conscious people tend to sometimes speak badly and negatively of each other. And Baba Fuller said that because we are diseased, and because we are under the umbrella of white supremacy, that we, in order to combat this oppression, to only speak positively when we speak to each other and have something focused to do when we are around each other. I.e., if we're just sitting around drinking, having a good time, usually a fight erupts, or arguments erupts, or gossip erupts, something destructive erupts because we're still in a diseased, destructive state of mind. But if we come to each other and say, brother, what are you up to? And you say, well, I'm trying to do this, then we can come together because now we're on a mission. And we're doing something that has to do with uplifting our people. And when we're not doing that, then we should stay absolutely as far from each other as humanly possible.
Okay, Neely Fuller talks about no contact, no conflict, but
yes,
this is why stop name-calling each other. Stop gossiping about each other. Stop squabbling with each other. Stop cursing one another, being discourteous and disrespectful. Stop stealing from one another. Stop robbing. See, that sounds simple, and so we just bypass it, but this is, again, what you are emphasizing.
Yes, ma'am.
You see, if we had codification to undo the damage done by racism, white supremacy, so absolutely.
And I just also want to state that I work with 15 African young kings who are from, quote-unquote, the hood. And I have found, to the sisters who say, what do we do with the young brothers when they're out of control? We are a nurturing mother. We are nurturing mothers. We have the ability to love our young kings and talk to them as if we're preparing them for what they're destined for. And we love them and hug them and respect them, no matter who else does not. We instill in them the power that they already have. We bring that to the level of consciousness. And I work with them every day, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Greetings. My name is Erica. I'm from Philadelphia. I'm 34, raising a 14-year-old daughter right now, only child that I have. In Philadelphia, we have this big debate between the public and the charter schools right now, where a lot of the schools are being privatized. I have a situation where, you know, as a conscious person that is always learning, I pass the information that I know and that I do learn down to my daughter. And right now, in the charter school that she's in, they have a zero tolerance policy as far as like behavior goes. And because I'm the type of parent that I always tell my daughter, if there's a situation at school that you cannot handle, you know, give me a call and, you know, I'll come up there and I'll, you know, handle it the best that I can. But it's you know, she kind of has a little defiance, because I teach her as much about white supremacy as I possibly can, as far as the school system goes, the education, the curriculum, and things like that. So she is kind of like feeling like she's targeted a lot by the teachers in the school because she does ask questions and because she challenges them to a lot of things that they you know, do towards her as far as her behavior. So now I'm in a situation where as though she could be doing anything as simple as maybe a second late for class, where I'm constantly getting phone calls about discipline, behavior, just all kinds of things. And you know, this goes on the child's permanent record. You know, she's soon to be in the 9th grade. So for her to get into a good school, you know, where she has good grades, but the behavior, you know, kind of can stop you from getting into a good school as well. It's like, how do I protect my daughter from not getting into a school that she would like to get in? How do I protect her in this system that the school you know, places on our children as far as defiance goes, without them labeling her, targeting her, and making her a problematic child?
Okay, well, I would again say that, in other words, you tell the child, I put you in this school. I put you in this school to learn. You see, it's my expectation that any of the grown-ups in this school, I expect you to obey. If there is a problem, you bring the problem home to me. You don't try to solve the problem by being disrespectful to the adult. I will come and handle that. You see, I will find out at the adult-to-adult level. But I put you into school. See, if you tell a child, I put you into school, but you can be disruptive to any teacher that you just don't like. Do you see? And so then the child is disruptive and has a record. Do you see? As opposed to, if I put you there, then I expect you to be courteous and respectful. If there is a problem, I will come and take care of it. You don't have to handle it by being a 14-year-old who's being rude and disrespectful to the teacher.
Now, my daughter's not disrespectful.
Okay.
She, you know, as a child, you know, kids go through certain phases, you know. Right now in the school system, you know, if a child is too hyper, they're quick to put them on Ritalin, you know, label them as ADHD. If a child speaks up for themselves, they're quick to say, you know, they're disrespectful in those aspects, you know, without just letting the child be able to voice themselves and, you know, calm down from whatever situation it may be, outside of having to constantly call the parent or, you know, write up an incident report or anything like that. My biggest thing is, sorry, it just left my mind.
Take your time.
For the most part, my daughter's not a disrespectful child, but she does know how to defend herself. You know, and I do tell her, you know, when a teacher, you know, tells you something, you have to obey. You know what I'm saying? But it's like at this particular moment, it's like she feels like she's targeted. You know, she's a target at this particular moment because the school knows that I'm a parent that's there all the time. I'm the type of parent that sneaks up on my child and I'll sit in the back of the class, you know, without her even knowing that I'm coming. But it's like she feels targeted at this moment, you know, from the teachers.
Well, I would say number one, because it's like, you know, we're talking at a surface level about what the problem is. It may need more in-depth examination, and it may mean that you need to change the school of the child. You see, but I see a little 6-year-old, you know, who's being disruptive to the teacher, so I sit with him and we write on yellow papers, very smart little child. I will do what grown-ups tell me to do. Grown-ups are in charge. When I become a grown-up, I will be in charge.
Hotep, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
Hotep, future leader.
My name is John, and I would like to say I appreciate at our home. my family, we appreciate and we love you and we respect you. And I appreciate how you broke down the racism and white supremacy system, and how you broke down the different things, the different subjects about the sports and between us and the Europeans. And I appreciate you making a beautiful contribution to the African family, and with that I say Hotep.
You know, sometimes it's like when we look at the magnitude of the problem, we can get discouraged. But when we see little children like that, you see, it ought to motivate us all to determine that they're going to have every conceivable opportunity, that that's not going to be another Trayvon Martin, you see, or any of the other children, but that kind of determination and brilliance, this is ought to give us heart. That we can be.
How you doing, Doc? I really thank God for you. The reason why I thank God for you, because I was one of those troubled youths that was being suppressed, and my mother and the system didn't know what to do with it. But through the help of God, and I read your book years ago, and this is the first time I got to meet you. And it also helped me deal with the inadequacy. A lot of people, a lot of men don't talk about the inadequacy that they feel due to white supremacy when they're targeted and they lose their job. And they want to take care of their family, but they just can't. When they go out looking for these jobs and they give you requirements and license and stuff that we do naturally, and we want to take care of our women, so we go to the streets. And we do what we do. I used to live right over here in Murphy Homes, but it took people like you to wake me up with the consciousness of, and you had the courage enough to tell the truth, even when your colleagues tell another thing. You're waking us up and explaining it. All living. And God did give us that ability. That's why I thank God for you taking time and educating yourself so that you can explain it to me, so that I can explain it to my son, so that I can be a man. And through that, I was able to stay married for 17 years. I'm still married. To redirect the energy through the experiences that I had and help these young men not sell drugs, not kill their children, and be able to be a man, and you don't have to hit somebody up the head, side of the head to prove you're a man, because this is what you have to go through when you go to prison. See, standing your ground, we are forced to try to stand our ground and not know why we're standing there. Being forced in the institutions where they breed homosexuality. Right. Going to court and not having proper representation where they're making merchandise off of us. So we got to redirect the currency. We got to get lawyers. We got to get doctors. We got to get more people like you to tell the truth so we can really combat the system and stand up for our rights. And I want to thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to be determined. We are going to win this war for justice on this planet, and we all are going to be soldiers. Thank you very much.
Anybody want to get a few more copies of books? I know we got to get Dr. Welsing out of here, but however, so we're going to be shutting down here. But if anybody want to get any more books,
Oh my God.
You said you're not going back tonight?
Not tonight. It's late. I'll leave out in the morning. Yeah, that was I was touched by that. gotta find out that it's on DVD. They get it. I need to get this.
See him if you don't get it, then see me later on.
I got your number.
Yeah, call me later on and you'll get it.
Okay. Oh, and when did it take me to get
Yeah, it should be this week, but I'm seeing how the ground, and he'll tell you the exact date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, kid. When the tape becomes available, let me know. Okay. I got you.